What's poppin', people? It's Dante. Today's thought is that you should use photography as an excuse for you to wander aimlessly, you know, without any preconceived idea of what you're gonna find or where you're going, you know, kind of just going with the flow. Maybe your subconscious mind is telling you today, turn left. And you just obey that and you follow that. And that intuition, I find, should guide us as photographers, you know, where I find that when I'm letting go and embracing the flow of the day, whether I'm just walking aimlessly by listening to the sounds, the sights, the smells, and following that sort of inner gut feeling, I find bliss and joy and happiness. And I find that this way of approaching life, this way of approaching my everyday routine of going out into the world and photographing, is simply providing me with so much meaning, despite how aimless or wanderous it may seem. I wish that was a word. Wanderous? We should claim this word. I feel wanderous today, you know, where I'm full of wonder and awe in the mundane. And by wandering my way through the streets, I discover new things, and I find that this is the ultimate way to be. And for instance, as I wander here behind this synagogue, I actually haven't walked this way before. And this is a quite interesting little sculptural piece here. We have Netanyahu. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I haven't seen this before, these columns here. This is kind of interesting. You know, I'll photograph the texture of it. You know, I can hold my Ricoh in these kind of like unique angles and kind of photograph aimlessly as well, where I'm not really even looking at the composition that I'm making. And so this is the bow of Jonathan Turnopback. They were stronger than lions. They were swifter than eagles. You know, I find this to be a really, really liberating way to approach the day, to wander, to find yourself in this sort of state of bewilderment of the mundane. You know, what is this stage here for? Look at the way the light's casted there and the clouds peer beyond the horizon. It's kind of beautiful, actually. Then when you raise your camera to these very mundane things and photograph them, you find something new. You discover something through the act of photographing. And if you limit yourself to only photographing people, or limit yourself to photographing on busy street corners, you're not going to find yourself making anything new. Or what I like to think about is sort of this act of liberation as a photographer, where I'm liberating myself and setting myself free from all previous constraints by photographing this way. And when I chip away at life this way, and when I simply follow my gut instinct to click the shutter, I'm evolving and transforming. And through that evolution and change, man, does it feel great. You know, when you're evolving and doing something new and in a state of flux, you know, this to me is where we can thrive as humans. And I just find that to be a really empowering thought, as a way for you to use photography as an excuse for you to sort of just wander aimlessly, even in your hometown, you know, especially in your hometown, where here I'm walking this unfamiliar path, and I feel like there's millions of unfamiliar paths that I could travel throughout my hometown, Philadelphia, that I still haven't yet discovered. You know, what is this beautiful mirror here, this interesting sculpture? It looks like a flower. It's kind of cool, actually. I like the way it engages with the surroundings because it's reflective. You know, it's like, I believe there's a practical sort of physiological response that your body feels as well through this act of wandering. You know, the neural pathways that open due to the novelty of the experience, whether you're walking on a new texture on the ground, or taking a new route, or seeing something, or hearing something, or, you know, making something new. You unlock these neural pathways and sort of increase your brain's ability to articulate things, you know, where the more experiences we have, the more sort of small breaks we have in our routine, I think this is where we could discover new things. And maybe, just maybe, on like a very practical physiological level, our brain's ability to create something new with our imagination can maybe be enhanced due to our wandering. Yeah. So wander, you know, this to me is the art of street photography. You kind of just become this ultimate flaneur in your hometown, and yeah, you just go out there to enjoy the sights, the sounds, the smells, and yeah, photograph your way through the day. There's infinite ways to articulate things. There's infinite ways to create upon the canvas that is our world. And I think it really does require this sort of act of liberation, this sort of recognition that maybe you do have these preconceived notions in your head, or ideas of what is a good or bad photograph, or what you should be doing with your time and day. But when you let go of these basic notions of time and productivity, and you simply enjoy the leisure of the stroll, the leisure of the walk, this sort of period of otium, if you will, of sort of the pursuit of creative acts like photography, yeah, I think this is like the pinnacle of what it means to flourish as a human, to sort of be at leisure, to be at peace with a lack of productivity, but through this sort of idle, if you will, state of wandering, you know, where I'm not necessarily producing anything for society here. I'm finding that through my leisure, through this sort of like me time where I'm creating in a very selfish way, I find that's where all the best ideas are born and where all the best artwork is formed. And then through that sort of selfish nature of you spending time on your own and wandering your own way, you know, then maybe we can come back into society and provide some meaning of productive things for other people, you know. But it's really the most beautiful way to spend the day, I find, is, you know, a day at leisure, a day of strolling, a day of walking, a day of simply being and not striving. And so through photography, I find myself in this sort of state of leisure where I'm just enjoying the stroll. I'm enjoying the cobblestone roads, walking down these brick paths, discovering new places in old city Philadelphia, gazing out towards Benjamin Franklin's home, you know, and just being on my own as I roam. Yeah, this is what it feels like to be at home, to sort of wander aimlessly.